Hi, I'm Isla, from South Carolina. I have a twin sister, Prisca, who may look like me, but that's it. Besides that, we are nothing alike. I'm more grounded and chill. Meanwhile, Prisca's idea of fun meant all sorts of betting games, hoping to become a billionaire overnight. She skipped school almost every day just to gamble away her lunch money. And every time my parents would have to go find her and drag her home themselves. Then, of course, came the same old argument.
This is the 4th time this week you've skipped classes already, Prisca. You're grounded for a year and kiss your allowance goodbye.
A whole year? Isn't that too harsh?
She's like this because you keep spoiling her.
And right on cue, it became Mom versus Dad, instead of Mom and Dad versus Prisca. But this time, things escalated. Mom suddenly clenched her chest, went pale, and fainted. Mom! The doctor said Mom fainted due to a heart condition triggered by emotional stress. It's all Prisca's fault.
Don't look at me.
Who else would I look at? You stress everyone out.
It's not like I enjoy losing money every day either. I'm trying to stop, I swear.
But she only got worse. Our parents' marriage grew strained because of her. But they're not the only ones affected by her bad habit. Everywhere I went, people thought I was Prisca. People she owed money to. People she scammed. At school, on the streets, everywhere, almost every day. One time, I almost got stalked all the way home by someone who I'm sure Prisca didn't pay back their money. Almost.
Isla, what happened?
The neighbor's dog is chasing after me. Had to run. I lied every time just so they wouldn't get needlessly stressed out again. But Prisca always knew. You should be more careful when walking home from school. And you know all too well, huh? Why don't you stop this addiction? Can't you see how horrible this is?
I've picked up another job. I'll pay them, okay? Please, don't tell Mom and Dad. I'll change, I promise.
I wanted to believe it would all end soon, so I endured for a while. But sooner or later, it was always going to blow up in my face. One day after school, I noticed a car following me. Again. No doubt they're Prisca's debt owners. I tried to lose them, but nothing worked. They got me just as I reached the door. Then I couldn't hide from Mom and Dad anymore.
Who are you?
Who am I?
The man your daughter stole from.
That's impossible. Isla doesn't steal.
Mom, he thinks I'm Prisca. They've been after me for days.
What do you mean, think? You're Prisca. Sir, I think there's been a mistake.
In the end, Dad had to pay off Prisca's debt. But one thing was clear. Her gambling habit had spiraled out of control.
You not only put yourself, but our entire family in danger.
I was going to pay them back, I swear.
Mom and Dad shared a look of despair. Prisca had crossed the line.
Prisca, dear, we'll have to send you away for rehab. It's for your own good.
But Prisca wasn't having any of it. I just wish she would accept the help instead of pushing everybody away. The next morning, I woke up to see my parents stand around Prisca's empty bed.
Isla, oh gosh, Prisca, your sister is gone.
She left a note.
You all want me out of your hair? Fine. We need to find her.
We've asked people to keep an eye out and let us know if they spot her anywhere. In the meantime, we'll help you build a life of your own. You don't have to worry about covering up for Prisca anymore.
But no matter how hard we looked, Prisca was nowhere to be found. Soon enough, time flew by and I graduated high school. I got accepted into a college in Ontario, 30 hours from home. It was a fresh start for me. I looked forward to making lots of memories. Well, things got interesting, all right. Just not in the woohoo adventure way. A broody, handsome stranger was glaring at me like I owed him something. Wait, owed? Was I being mistaken for Prisca again? No, it couldn't be. We were days away from home. But alas, I kept running into him. Later, I learned that his name was Luca, and everywhere I went, he was there glowering. My roommate Sally had a theory about the situation, the kind you get from watching too much anime. A secret admirer, she said, with longing looks of admiration. Cute story, huh? Yeah, no chance. No guy squinted their eyes and frowned that hard when looking at a girl he liked. I knew eventually I'd have to confront him, but before I could act, he'd already beat me to it. I was heading out for some groceries when suddenly this fancy car blocked my way. It was Luca's car.
Get in. We need to talk.
No thanks, I'm not in the mood to get kidnapped.
Fine, I'll get out. This guy was towering over me. I felt like an ant standing before him. Seriously, what's your deal, dude?
The world's a small place, huh? Where's the money?
Excuse me?
Don't play dumb with me, Prisca. I lent you the money because you're a friend of a friend, but who would have thought you'd just run away with it?
Oh, my days. It all made sense now. But the last thing I needed was Prisca's problems following me once again. Can we go somewhere more private? I was desperate to make him understand that I was only Prisca's twin. I gave him my ID card, student ID, and even old photos of me and Prisca together, but...
Not buying it. You're a scammer, Prisca. Who's to say you didn't fake all that?
You didn't even look! Fine, I'll call someone to confirm.
Nice try. You probably have a whole crew in on the scam with you, too.
Great, now I'm in a crime syndicate? Seriously? What am I supposed to do? I don't even have a quarter of what she owed you.
Then let's visit your parents. Surely they can pay.
Nuh-uh. No way was I dragging them into this disaster. They're already worried sick that we couldn't find Prisca. If they knew she was in massive debt again? No, I'll get a part-time job. Give me 5 months. I'll pay you back.
5 months? Why would it take so long?
Well, with my college classes, even if I tried to take up 2 jobs at a time, the average wage will only get me so far. The more I explained, the more his rich kid smug face twisted into a hilariously confused expression.
That can't be true. I just put up a poster for a housekeeper with a starting salary of at least twice that amount.
Yeah. If you know it so well, why don't you help me find a job paying that much? As soon as I finished the sentence, he tilted his head and gave me a smirk. Yep, you've guessed it. I was to work off the debt as his housekeeper. I didn't have much of a choice. For a student, he lived like royalty. One look and anyone could tell he was born into money. Working for him was pure torture. I scrubbed, mopped, dusted, and yet he never ran out of work for me. Like one time, he told me to hand wash a whole mountain of clothes. Luca, these clothes are already clean. Like fresh laundry clean.
Is that so?
He got up and, to my horror, wiped his greasy pizza hands all over them.
Now they're not.
I wanted to dump the entire basket onto his smug face, but I promised myself I'd get through 3 months of this as coolly as possible. Then, one day, things took an unexpected turn when I came in for work as usual and found him in the kitchen struggling to make himself a simple cup of tea. He was shivering like a leaf, down with a fever. You know hospitals exist, right?
I already took a pill. I'll live. The kitchen needs cleaning, by the way.
Wow, even in this state, you're still a jerk. Maybe if you're nice to me for once, you'll get better. I wanted to leave that arrogant guy alone, I really did. But when I looked over and saw how vulnerable he looked, I didn't have the heart to. I was playing nurse and I didn't even know why. Maybe I thought of Prisca and hoped someone out there was being kind to her too. Or maybe I just couldn't stand seeing him all weak and helpless. Either way, after that day, something shifted between us. He started being nice. He gave me less work and actually joined in to help. We even had fun watching movies and chatting with each other. I may not know why he changed, but I enjoyed this new Luca much more. Before I knew it, he was taking me out. It felt like going on dates. I'm scared of heights.
Just hold on to me. I'm here for you.
Neither of us said it, but we both knew we were falling for each other. I felt like I was on cloud 9, only it wasn't for long when things came crashing down. I'd just finished making us lunch and was about to call Luca in the next room when...
What? Prisca owed you money too? Bro, that sucks. I wish I could help you out, but I haven't found Prisca either.
What? Seemed like he was on the phone with a friend, but...
No, that's her twin, Isla. Yeah, I confirmed it.
My heart dropped to my stomach. He knew? This entire time he'd already known I wasn't Prisca, and he still made me work to repay her debt? I stumbled backward in disbelief and hit the wall with a thud. Luca jolted at the sound and quickly hung up the phone.
Hey, I heard a thud. Are you all right?
I glared at him with all my fury. His face slowly turned red in shame.
Listen,
So am I a joke to you or what?
Of course not. It's just...
Save your excuses to yourself. I quit. I stormed off. I felt used, stupid for even thinking we had something special going on. If all my troubles started with Prisca, then today would be the end of it.
So I changed my hair to make sure nobody would ever mistake me for Prisca ever again. I buried myself in schoolwork and avoided Luca at all costs, even blocking his number. It hurt to pretend like nothing had happened and to just go back to my normal life. Yet I was convinced that was how things should be. Until one day, my quiet life got shaken up. Again. Sally walked up to me, looking a bit uncomfortable.
Isla? Someone's here to see you.
If it's Luca, I don't... No,
She looks like you. Like pre-red hair you.
Prisca? Hi, sis. Seeing her after nearly a year made my chest tighten. She looked like she hadn't eaten in days. I wanted to pull her in for a hug and ask her how she'd been, but I had to stop myself. What are you doing here? Please, Isla. I'm in trouble. Loan sharks are after me. I just need you to pretend to be me just once. Tell them you'll get the money. In case you didn't notice, I don't look exactly like you anymore. You can dye it back. Just for now, I'll get a job, I promise. Are you serious? How many times have you made that promise already? You're scared to face your debt collectors, but you're willing to push me into that situation just to cover your back? Isla, please, You hurt Mom and Dad, and you hurt me. I'm done cleaning up your mess. Here, buy yourself some food, but don't come to me again, unless you're ready to make a real change. I meant every word. Still, turning her away like that hurt more than I expected, but I knew it was the right thing. Prisca needed a wake-up call. And you know what? I was right. Because 2 months later, I came home for Thanksgiving and we got a call from Prisca. Hi, Mom, Dad, Isla. I have good news. I joined Gamblers Anonymous and have been going to meetings regularly for a while now. It's tough at first, but I'm slowly turning my life around. Oh, Prisca, you have no idea how worried we were. We spent every single minute looking and worrying about you. But that's great news to hear, honey. But how? Oh, it's a funny story, actually. One of the people I owed money to tracked me down, but instead of demanding payment, he insisted I must start joining self-help groups and even offered to keep an eye on me and help me find a sponsor to make sure I'd go through with it.
Wow, such a kind stranger. Who is he?
Oh, his name is Mr. L. Yeah, that's all I know. It was undoubtedly the best news we'd heard in years. But one question remained in my mind. Who was this Mr. L? I got a feeling I might know him already. When I came back to the dorm after Thanksgiving, a surprise awaited. Luca was still trying to reach me, and this time I didn't avoid him anymore.
Isla, I came to apologize. I'm truly sorry, Isla. I should have told you sooner that I already knew you weren't Prisca, but I was afraid you'd just leave. And the more I knew you, the more I didn't want to lose you. You're kind-hearted and strong. You take care of everyone, even when nobody asks you to, even without asking for anything back. And if you'll let me, I want to be the one to take care of you for once.
Well, I guess I do owe you a thank you for what you've done for Prisca.
Wait, what?
Yeah, Prisca isn't a very convincing liar, Mr. L. Thank you for your kindness. That was sweet of you.
Oh, for God's sake, just date already!
Real love isn't shielding someone from their own consequences. It's having the courage to let them face the truth and walk beside them as they learn to do better.
I can't believe it's been a year since Gerald passed away. I know it's been hard, but on the bright side, at least you still have your 2 wonderful daughters. Thank you. She smiled. Then she rubbed Jamie's head. I'm very proud of this one. Yeah. Jamie's pretty, Jamie's girly, Jamie's adorable. And I was just the other child. I watched on as the 3 of them relaxed on the porch, giggling about dumb stuff and enjoying their lemonade, while I struggled with the stupid lawnmower. They didn't even notice me. I quickly finished up, then I grabbed my skateboard and hurried out of there. Charlotte, stop right there. And where exactly do you think you're going without my permission? Skateboarding. I grumbled, then left. Whatever. She didn't care anyway. She just wanted to suffocate me. It wasn't like this back when I had Dad on my side. As you can see, I'm not a girly girl. All that manicure and makeup stuff just seems like nonsense to me. But my non-identical twin, Jamie, lives for it. She always wakes up extra early just so she has more time to style her hair, apply her makeup, and pick out her daily outfit. Then all she does at school is sit around with the other Barbies and giggle at pretty much everything. But guess that's the kind of girl Mom prefers, as it's blatantly clear that Jamie's her favorite. It's always me who had to do all the chores in the house, just so her Jamie could sit there scrolling through her phone. There was one time when I was washing the dishes, I heard a deafening shriek. No, my sister wasn't being murdered. Instead, there was a spider crawling across the floor. Poof! It was just a spider. Nuts! I didn't want to be a chore slave. I just wanted to skateboard. Yeah, skateboarding and painting are my true passions, but Mom told me skateboarding was for boys. Ugh, how ridiculous. So I often snuck out. There were times I got so into it that I lost track of time and arrived home to Mom's furious eyes. You're grounded. Next time, I won't hesitate in breaking your boards in half. Jeez, that was so unfair. I pushed past her and ran into my room. Then clutching my board, I burst into tears. I wish Dad was still here. Whenever Mom and I argued, he always came up to my room and told me how Mom only acted the way she did because she cares about me. She just has a different way of showing it. It's been a whole year since he passed, all because of a freak accident at the factory he worked in. Now, we all had to rely on Mom's home tailor job, and I just became the errand girl, while Jamie sits around looking pretty. Worse still, Mom insisted I get a part-time job to support the family, while Jamie didn't have to. When I questioned Mom on this, she just said, Jamie isn't like you. She wouldn't be able to handle both school and work. Excuse me, what? But I knew arguing with Mom about it was pointless. Anyways, it all worked out okay, as I landed myself a job in this cool skateboard store. Oh, and also, less house chores. One rainy afternoon, the store was quiet, so I took out my sketchbook and designed some skateboards. Then my manager, Rick, peered over my shoulder. Uh-oh, was I in trouble? But to my surprise, he said, That's pretty good. Then he passed me a flyer for a skateboard designing contest. You should give it a try. This contest was meant to be, so I spent all my free time shut away in my room working on my design. I didn't see Mom or Jamie for a full week. How peaceful. And guess what? I won first prize. It was awesome. However, Mom snatched the prize money from me due to family financial reasons. So my money was going to be used on new clothes and makeup for Jamie. Unbelievable! I didn't want to be under this roof anymore. But at 15, where else could I go? Poof. Then Mom told me her work was slow at the moment, so I should enter more contests to support my family. Hey, it got me out of chores, so I agreed to it. And I pretty much won all of them. But it did annoy me that I didn't get to keep my rewards. Then when I saw Jamie showing off her new shoes, I just wanted to yank them off her feet and throw them at her. Ugh! I thought twins were meant to have some sort of deep connection or something. Not me and Jamie. We couldn't be more different. Finally, I had a day off, so I arranged to go skateboarding with Rick. I grabbed my board and was about to leave when Mom blocked the door. Charlotte, where do you think you're going? Jamie has a date tomorrow, and her dress needs hand washing. What? This was ridiculous. I rolled my eyes and said, in that case, she can wash it herself. Don't take that attitude with me, young lady. You'll do as you're told. Through angry sobs, I screamed at her. I wish you weren't my mom! Then I ran upstairs to my room. Right at that moment, the doorbell rang. My mom calmed down, cleared her throat, and opened the door. Huh? Why was there an expensive-looking car in our driveway? And why was a wealthy-looking couple standing on the doorstep? Curious, I hid behind the wall to see who they were and what they were here for. From my eavesdropping, I found out that the couple was the Barnes. They'd just retired from their jobs working for the government in the Secret Intelligence Department. Mom and Mrs. Barnes were besties in high school, so when they both fell pregnant at the same time, Mom offered to bring their daughter up as her own, so they could go and work away on their secret mission. We've both taken early retirement, and we can finally enjoy life. We're very grateful to both you and Gerald for looking after our daughter, but we're here to take her home now. Oh my God! Turns out, one of us was adopted! No wonder we were nothing alike. But was it Jamie or me? Could it be me? I mean, Mom always preferred Jamie, so she could be her biological daughter. I knew they were my real parents. I could feel it. So taking a deep breath, I nervously stepped out to meet them. Jamie, come down here, sweetie. Mom called, and I froze on the spot. I watched on as Jamie appeared, and Mom introduced her to her real parents. She didn't even seem surprised. She just replied, "Yes, I know," then sweetly grinned. "I'm so happy that I can finally meet you both." The Barnes cooed over Jamie like she was a puppy or something. Then they got emotional and all. Ugh, it made me want to puke. I ran up to my room, locked the door, and cried. Life was so unfair. Jamie was always the lucky one, while I always got the raw deal out of things. I must have cried myself to sleep, as when I woke up, it was morning. I reached for my phone. Jamie had messaged me. "It's sad you missed my farewell dinner. I had a great time living with you. Come and hang out sometime, okay?" Poof! I aggressively threw my phone down onto my bed. Bold of her to assume I would ever want to hang out with her. We had nothing in common. Luck alone was an example. Life went on, but without Jamie, as she moved to some rich kid's school. And I continued going to school, work, sneaking out to skateboard, and avoiding Mom as much as possible. Then one chemistry class, while we were carrying out an experiment in the lab, one of my classmates made a mistake. And boom! We were all left looking like Cinderella. And that might have actually been the best thing of that day, since we were dismissed 2 hours early. Excited, I rushed home to get my skateboard, but I knew I needed to sneak past Mom so she didn't accuse me of skipping class. But as I passed the kitchen, I saw her sitting at the table sobbing to herself. What was going on? Suddenly, she stood up and walked out to the backyard. There was a leather notebook and a pen on the kitchen table, so I tiptoed over and took a peek. It looked like her diary. Those freshly written lines were stained with tears. "Jamie, my baby, I miss you terribly. I want you to live a wealthy, happy life, so I made the ultimate sacrifice. I tell myself every day that you're now a Barnes, not a Smith anymore. Not my daughter anymore." What? I couldn't trust my own eyes. What did these words mean? Could it be... But even if she mistreats me sometimes, she couldn't be that kind of person, right? I tore out that page, then hurried off to the skate park. Only, I couldn't concentrate. It was so bad, I messed up my pop shove-it and landed on my butt. Ugh, this was driving me insane. That evening, Mom appeared in my doorway and asked, "Charlotte, what did you do this afternoon?" I answered, "I told you already. I was at school and then the skate park." "Did you see my notebook? The leather one?" I shook my head in response. "Oh, it's my expense book. I can't remember where I left it." She gave another scan around my room before leaving. When she was out of sight, I immediately pulled out my phone and texted Jamie. "Jamie, I miss you a lot. Can I come over to your house tomorrow?" I needed to see Mr. and Mrs. Barnes. I had to find out what was going on once and for all. Jamie replied she had a date the next day. While I was typing out a reply, she sent me another message. "We can't hang out. Please stop contacting me." Okay, that was weird. Did she sense something was up? I checked Jamie's social network profile and noted down the name of her new school. The next morning, I skipped class, went straight to Jamie's school administrator's office to ask for the Barnes' address. Oh, and of course, I made up a convincing story. "Jamie's my sister, But then we found out she's actually the Barnes' biological daughter. Now my mom, who raised Jamie all these years, is really sick, and I need to tell her, but I don't know how to reach her. Perfect! She handed me the address and even wished me luck. There was no point wasting time, so I skated my way round to the Barneses. As I rang on their doorbell, I could feel my heart somersaulting in my chest. I introduced myself as soon as they answered the door. Hey, I'm Charlotte, Mrs. Smith's daughter, but I strongly believe I'm not Charlotte Smith because I have something to show you. Then I handed them the torn page from my mom's diary. They both turned ghostly pale, and Mr. Barnes even had to grip onto the doorframe to steady himself. I felt bad for putting them through this. I mean, what if I was wrong? So I suggested, let's just do a DNA test to be sure. A few days later, the Barnes turned up at our house with Jamie. They slammed 2 DNA test results down in front of Mom. I peered down at them. Whoa! Turns out I really am the Barnes' biological daughter after all. Mom gave this expressionless look, but then in a quiet voice she said, I just wanted Jamie to have a wealthy and privileged life. She's not as strong as Charlotte. She needs this more. Please don't blame her. She didn't know anything about this. Then she hugged Jamie and cried. Mr. and Mrs. Barnes looked overwhelmed. Finally, Mr. Barnes managed to find the words to say, Jamie's also like a daughter to us now. We will take care of her like you did with our daughter, but just stay away from us. He pulled Jamie away from Mom and guided her out of the house. Mrs. Barnes hugged me as she started crying. I found myself doing the same. This was my real mom holding me. Whoa, this was so crazy. I packed my things, but as I was leaving, my old mom called me back. Charlotte, I have something to give to you. Then she handed me a small box full of cash. This is your prize money. I put it away for your college fund. You better have it back. I'm so sorry. My sight blurred with tears. Dad was right. She still cared for me. My parents will forgive you. Then you'll soon see both of us again, I said as I hugged her tightly. Then I turned and left. A new life was waiting ahead of me. Hey, kid, why are you here alone? What's your name? I first noticed this little girl when I discovered this epic pastry shop near my school. She'd always be sitting in the alleyway nearby, wearing the same clothes over and over again, clutching a teddy bear in her arms. She looked up at me with her big, innocent eyes and answered timidly, I'm Alex. Then she started crying quietly and said, My mom and dad are always working, so I wait for them here. Sometimes they're gone for days. Oh, this poor little girl. She must have been starving, as she kept eyeing my bag of croissants. I gave her one, and she said chocolate croissants were her favorite. Wow, just like me. No wonder I'd felt drawn to this little girl. She ate it so fast, and I told her I'd go buy her another one, and I'd be right back. I couldn't bear to see her so hungry. How could her parents just leave her like that? I ran as fast as I could, but when I got back to the alleyway, she was gone. How weird. I couldn't see her anywhere. I walked home, and that night, I couldn't stop thinking about her. Had her parents come to pick her up? The next day, I went back to the pastry shop, and before I even got there, I heard some kids shouting. I tried to take a closer look, and there Alex was, huddled on the ground while the kids threw her teddy bear around. Oh no, she was crying. This made me so angry, so I charged towards them. Hey, leave her alone right now, or you'll have me to deal with. The bullies immediately ran off. I rushed over and put my arm around Alex. She wiped tears from her eyes and said, Thank you. Other than my teddy, you're the only one who wants to be my friend. I swear the lump in my throat couldn't get any bigger. Then I asked her what happened. She told me how she skipped school because she was bullied for wearing old, smelly clothes. Even the teachers were mean to her, she said. Oh gosh, my heart. I couldn't bear this, so I held out my hand. Alex, I can't leave you out here like this. I've always wanted a little sister. So what do you say? I promise I'll protect you. Alex squeezed my hand, which I took as a yes, and then we got up and she asked if she could show me something. It was a playground that she used to go to, and as soon as I saw it, I felt something well up inside me. It looked so familiar. We played on the jungle gym and the swings, and they even had a big slide that was so fun to play on. We played for hours, and it felt like I'd gone back in time to my childhood. Well, if only I could actually remember my childhood. As far as I know, when I was just 8 years old, I had a big accident. It gave me a major head injury and wiped my memory completely. Ever since then, I've been going to therapy and taking medication. But it's so weird not being able to remember anything from before. I try to focus on the present, though, and I know I'm lucky to even be alive. However, sometimes the migraines from the accident get really bad, and that's exactly what happened when we were on the swings. One minute, I was looking at the clouds and laughing. The next, I felt myself slipping off the swing and landing on the ground. The last thing I saw was Alex running towards me. When I opened my eyes, I was in a hospital bed, and my parents were there holding my hands. Recently, my migraines had been getting more frequent, and it really worried my mom and dad. My first thought was, where's Alex? I asked my parents if they'd seen an 8-year-old girl, but they looked confused. I realized she'd probably been scared and run off. She was constantly on my mind, though, so as soon as I got out of the hospital a few days later, I went to find her again. She was nowhere to be seen, but there was a fire in my heart that kept urging me to find her, so I couldn't give up. I had to find her. I ran to the playground and was relieved to see her on the swings. She looked so sad, so I asked her what was up, and she burst into tears and she said, "My family, they lost everything. A gang came to our house and stole everything we own." Even I started crying after hearing that. How could people be so cruel? She then told me she hadn't eaten for days, as her parents now had no money to buy her food. Luckily, I had just bought some chocolate croissants, and she gobbled them both. Meanwhile, my mind was cluttered with thoughts of helping Alex. My savings were barely enough to support her, but maybe my parents could help? They donated to a church in town, so I'm sure they'd be happy to help Alex. I quickly called my mom, and she said she'd love to meet Alex and see what they could do. So I happily told Alex the good news, and we walked straight to my house. I gave her some more food, and we sat on the couch to wait for my parents. Seeing her bright face made me feel so happy. As soon as I heard their car pull up, I ran to the door and said, "Mom, Dad, Alex is here." My parents came in and looked around the room. Then my dad said, "Sweetie, where is she?" I pointed to the sofa and said, "She was just there." Then I called her name, but she didn't reply. I didn't get it. Where was she? My mom looked worried and said, "Is she too shy? Are you sure she was with you, honey?" I frantically checked the whole house, but she was nowhere to be found. I was starting to panic now, but my dad held me and said, "Alice, sweetie, calm down. Maybe you just need a rest." Then I heard my mom whispering to him, "The severe migraines probably have drained her out again. Get her upstairs. I'll call the doctor to ask about hallucinations." "I'm not hallucinating! She's real! Why don't you believe me?" I screamed out while trying to break away from my dad's arms. I was feeling dizzy by this point. My head was pounding, and the next moment, everything went dark again. I ended up in hospital again, for the second time that week. Wow, that was a new record. I was lying there pretending to still be unconscious to eavesdrop on my parents chatting to the doctor. "Alice has been acting a little strange. She keeps mentioning a homeless girl, and it sounds quite similar to her childhood. Today, she even said she brought her home to meet us. But we can't find her anywhere. And I don't think she even exists," my mom said. The doctor then said, "It's possible that this little girl is actually Alice's lost memories. Sometimes after therapy and medication, old memories can start resurfacing. Maybe this little girl was someone from Alice's childhood. A friend or something. What? This was crazy. Was Alex from my childhood? I didn't understand. I sat bolt upright and stuttered, Are you hiding something from me? I could tell right away they were, because my parents looked panicked, and my mom said, Listen, sweetie, it's been a long day for you. Now isn't the right time for this story. But I'll tell you tomorrow, okay? The next day, my parents drove me to the church that they donate to every year. I was so confused and kept asking them who Alex was. Eventually, a nun appeared, and we all sat down in a little room on the 3rd floor. Then the secrets came pouring out. My parents weren't my real parents. After I had the accident, my parents adopted me from the church. They'd picked me up at the hospital right after I recovered and didn't tell me what happened because they didn't want to make my life any harder. They just wanted me to be happy. I couldn't believe it. Then the nun asked me to explain what had been happening recently, and I told her about Alex. As soon as I said her name, the nun looked shocked and quickly pulled out a photo album. She showed me a photo of 2 twin girls and said, This is you, Alice, holding the teddy bear. And next to you is your twin sister. Her name is Alex. Suddenly, the room was spinning. This was all too much. I had a twin sister? Before I even had time to ask anything, the nun took my hand and led me over to a big window near the stairs. Through her words, all the past memories came rushing back to me. My biological parents had brought me and Alex to the church because they couldn't afford to raise us. No families wanted to adopt both of us, so the nun told us we would be separated. This was the most painful news we'd ever heard. So that night, we decided to escape together. I gave Alex my teddy bear to hold so that I could climb out the window first. But unfortunately, I slipped and fell from such a height that I'm lucky I even survived. That's what wiped all my memories. I stared at the window as the nun told me all of this. This was insane! How many secrets had been hidden from me all this time? So, where is Alex now? I asked, tears rolling down my cheeks. Turns out, Alex had been adopted by another family, but the nuns had lost contact with her because the family had moved overseas. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I had to see my sister. But how could I find her without any information? I started to search social media like crazy, but nothing came up. I wouldn't give up hope, though. I updated my journey finding Alex every day on a personal blog. Not one night I went to sleep without thinking about her and wondering how she was doing. Fortunately, people on the internet actually showed a lot of interest and support for my story. It got passed around, but so far, there still wasn't any hint about Alex. Even the illusion of baby Alex wouldn't show up anymore, ever since the day I heard the truth. But I knew in my bones that we would find our way back to each other again somehow. And then, one morning, I woke up from a strange dream with another migraine, so I decided to take a walk and get some fresh air and drop by the pastry shop for breakfast. I glanced over to the alley as usual, and I saw myself pacing around with a teddy bear in hand, looking kind of lost. Sounds like I'd lost the plot, right? Well, I hadn't, because it actually was Alex. We were frozen for like a whole minute when our eyes met. Then, without a single word being said, we just ran into each other's arms in tears. So, long story short, Alex had moved to France since 10, and ever since then, she'd also been trying to find me. Thanks to a post on Twitter, she realized I was still here, and so she applied for a scholarship to America so she could find me. And, well, there she was, standing right in front of me. Words can't express how unreal it still was to look at her every time. Oh, don't worry. Everyone, including my parents, have confirmed she's an actual person, not another product of my imagination. Thank God. I can't believe the crazy roller coaster ride that my life has been on for the past months. From that moment on, we were inseparable. And now, we're planning on moving in together. The only thing left for us to do is to find our biological parents. Alex remembers them clearly, so she's been filling me in on the first 8 years of our life together. Wish us luck. I gripped onto the swing chains and stared down at my feet. Someone was walking over. It was Lydia. "What's up?" she asked as she sat on the swing next to me. "Hey." I managed a weak smile. "It's probably nothing. It's just, my parents have been arguing a lot. Then this morning, Mom smelled some unfamiliar perfume on Dad's shirt and accused him of cheating. Is he really having an affair?" Lydia rubbed my shoulder. "No way! Your dad probably just got caught in a spray mist cloud at the department store or something. You shouldn't jump to conclusions that quickly. Your dad loves your mom. Anyone can see that, so don't worry." I mumbled a yeah in agreement. My name's Cora, and as corny as it sounds, before this incident, I had been pretty satisfied with my life. I'm attending a renowned university. I get along really well with my parents, and despite being an only child, I've never felt lonely, as I have my best friend, Lydia, for company. She's more of a sister to me. Regardless of the problem, I just needed to drop her a message, then we'll meet at our spot, which is the swings at the park. Yep, I had it all, and I thought nothing would ever change that. It turns out that I was wrong. So it all began with my dad. He was acting oddly. He often looked at his phone, then smiled to himself. And then he'd take his phone into the bathroom and not come out for ages. This didn't go unnoticed by Mom, but when she asked him about it, he just shrugged and said that he had some problems with his digestion. Then, while Mom was doing the laundry, she smelt an unfamiliar perfume on his shirt. She marched over to him, threw the shirt at his head, and demanded that he explain himself. Dad denied it and said it was probably just his work colleague's perfume, and that she was overreacting. That's why I arranged to meet Lydia at our spot. And as usual, she was so sweet and supportive. Lydia was right. Maybe I had thought too much. I came home and caught Mom crying in the kitchen. She looked at me with puffy eyes and said, "Something isn't right. I just know it. He doesn't look at me like he used to." I sat down, hugged her, and said, "Mom, let's stop overthinking. I trust Dad. He'll never betray us." I stayed to comfort her for a while, then eventually she calmed down. The next evening, Dad came home with a big bouquet of blue roses, Mom's favorites. Then he cooked dinner for us both as an apology for making us sad. Mom looked touched, and she also apologized for misunderstanding him. I told myself that things would be okay now, right? For the next few weeks, Mom and Dad seemed to be fine. But then, on my mom's birthday, we invited Lydia and her mom Josie over for dinner. My mom was busy in the kitchen, so I took the birthday gift off of Josie for her. That's when I smelt it. Her perfume. It was the same scent that had been on Dad's shirt. I was sure of it. Over dinner, I noticed that Josie kept on looking over at my dad and laughed at all of his dumb jokes. Oh God, was my dad having an affair with my best friend's mom? I felt like I'd explode, but I couldn't say anything to Lydia, as I didn't want to upset her. So I'd do my best to avoid my best friend until I figured things out. This worked for a few days, but then one day after a class, she rushed over to me and said, "Cora, why are you avoiding me?" I pretended not to hear her and kept on walking, but she grabbed my arm and continued. "Did I do anything wrong? Will you please just tell me?" I spilled out, "I'm pretty sure that my dad's having an affair with your mom." At first, she looked shocked, but then she hugged me and kept on apologizing. It was all too much for me, and I burst into tears in her arms. She told me that she'd talk to her mom and find out what was going on. The next day, I met Lydia at our spot. She looked super awkward, then said, "It's true. My mom had a month-long affair with your dad, but she promised that it's over." My world came crashing down around me. I just couldn't believe it. Lydia hugged me and told me it'd be okay. I was so lucky to have such an awesome friend like her. We both decided it'd be best not to tell my mom. The affair was over, so why break my mom's heart now? I tried carrying on like normal, and for the next few weeks, it really felt like everything was okay. Dad was really sweet with Mom, and he even surprised her with a posh dinner out. But then, one afternoon, I saw Dad pacing the garden. He was on the phone with someone, and I heard him say, "Okay, I'm coming now." Then he got into his car and drove off. I decided to follow him, and it soon became clear where he was going. He pulled up in front of Josie's house and then walked straight inside without knocking. My heart sank. So he was still seeing her. Without a second thought, I called Mom and blurted out, "Mom, Dad's having an affair with Josie. I'm there now. Come and join me and we'll confront them together." 5 minutes later, my mom showed up. She looked both sad and furious. We went straight to the front door and banged on it, and I yelled out, "Open up! We both know about your dirty relationship!" But suddenly, someone spoke behind us. "Hey, Laura. Cora, is everything okay?" We turned around and saw Josie standing there with a grocery bag in her hand. I was about to tell Josie to stay away from my dad when Lydia opened the door and gave us confused looks. "What are you doing here?" "Oh, do you want your dad? He's fixing the dishwasher." Then Josie said, "Lydia, I told you to call a plumber out to fix it. The plumber said he was fully booked today, so I think that I could ask Mr. Roberts for help." She replied, "Oh no! So it turns out I'd misunderstood what was happening and messed everything up." Suddenly, my dad appeared in the doorway and said to us, "What's all this banging and shouting about?" "Right, we're all going home now to talk." As soon as we got home, Dad waved his arms about in anger, then yelled at Mom, "You're crazy, jealous, and unreasonable, and I can't be around you anymore." I felt so bad. This was my fault, not Mom's. So I tried explaining this to Dad, but he just told me it wasn't my business and continued to shout at Mom. At first, Mom just sat there silently, but then she quietly said, "Is it any wonder I act how I do? I mean, you have been having an affair with my friend." "Right. If you keep on being this ridiculous, then let's divorce." Then he stormed off. It was horrible. Now Mom was inconsolable, and I felt awful for telling her. That night, I messaged Lydia to meet up, but she called me instead. She told me that she'd called my dad to ask him for the plumber's phone number, but he said that he'd come and fix it. She also said that Josie and him really were over. Then she hung up. This was kinda odd, but I suppose Lydia was finding it tricky being stuck in the middle of things with her mom and me. I guess I just needed to give her some space until things cooled down. After that, Mom and Dad barely said a word to each other. Talk about tense. Then, one day, Mom decided to move to my grandparents for a few weeks, as she needed time to think everything through. I didn't blame her, but I didn't want to stay home alone with Dad, so I went and stayed with a college friend. One night, I came home to pick up some clean clothes when I saw it for myself. My dad was kissing her on the couch. I couldn't believe my eyes. He was such a liar. So I coughed to clear my voice, then said, "Oh, so it's over, is it?" They both looked up at me, and that's when my eyes met with hers. Only it wasn't Josie. Nope, it was Lydia. She stammered out, "Cora, why are you here?" What? Lydia? So my dad had been having an affair with Lydia? How could the girl who was always there for me through high school breakups, bad grade mishaps, and growing pains do this to me? Then Dad put his arm around her and told me everything, that he had never had any affair with Josie. It was Lydia all along, and that they were in love and wanted to get married. It was all too much for me, so I rushed out of there. Lydia ran after me and called out my name. Then when she caught up with me, she grabbed my arm. "Cora, wait, I want to explain. Your dad and I interrupted her. "Why lie? Why say it was your mom?" "I'm sorry. I just wasn't ready for everyone to find out then. So I sprayed my perfume on my mom and made up the story that she'd admitted to having an affair with him. As for the dishwasher thing, well, I set that up, as I knew you'd follow your dad and call your mom. I feel bad, but your mom needs to know. He doesn't love her. He loves me." I jerked my hand away and shouted, "You're such a liar! You don't deserve to be my friend, and you can't have him! He's with my mom!" Suddenly, she changed her attitude, smirked at me, and said, "Cora, let's accept the truth. Your dad is bored of your mom. Actually, I'll be your stepmother soon, my little daughter." Then she left. I had jello legs, and I was so overwhelmed that it made me feel dizzy, so I sat on the curb and tried to calm myself down. Then I called Mom and told her everything. She cried a lot, but she thanked me for telling her the truth. After that, Mom came home and told Dad she wanted a divorce. Then she demanded that he move out. This was 6 months ago, and it's been hard, but Mom and I are getting there. I haven't spoke to Dad or Lydia since, although I've heard that they're living together. I know I can't avoid them forever, but I just don't know if I'll ever be able to forgive them. For now, I'm staying strong for Mom and helping her through this. Then maybe one day in the future, if they contact me, I'll be ready to meet them, and maybe, eventually, find it in myself to let them back into my life. You see that sad girl sitting there in a flood of tears? Yeah, I know, she's pretty hard to miss. Well, that was me a few months ago. My boyfriend had literally just broken up with me, and I had to pack my stuff out of his place ASAP with a resentful heart. But thinking back, if he hadn't broken my heart, I wouldn't have fallen into this super awkward and ridiculous situation. Oh, I forgot. I'm Ava. I'm 22, and I suck at love. So anyway, after crying like a newborn, I realized I needed a trip away to free my mind, just like Julia Roberts' character did in the movie Eat, Pray, Love. But I could only afford to do the low-budget version. So I went on Airbnb and found a reasonably priced room to rent in this idyllic beach house. And it gets even better. The owner, Hazel, is out most of the time, so it would be like renting the whole house with the price of one room. Awesome! Reserved! I needed to get out of this emotional hellhole ASAP. As expected, Hazel wasn't home when I arrived, and I had to find the hidden key under a plant pot by the door and let myself in. And oh my, it was like stepping into a life-size retro dollhouse. From the chic furniture to the funky wallpaper, I loved it here. This Hazel girl has got some taste. Ooh, there was even a record player. If I'd have known, I would have brought my vinyls with me. But hey, her collection wasn't too shabby. I have to admit that the idea of having a cool friend like this Hazel girl sounded pretty awesome. I was determined to actually meet her because, yeah, it's been 5 wonderful days staying here and I still haven't run into her. So one night, I settled down in the living room and watched a movie while waiting for her to come home. She eventually showed up at 2 a.m. Ugh, this girl wasn't kidding about coming home late. I greeted her and said, "Hey, I saw you have an Exacta 35mm film camera. That's so cool. Also, would you mind if I take a look at your vinyls?" She looked a bit confused and replied, "I have a what?" "Oh, you mean those rusty old things? They're my brother's. I doubt he'd mind. He always talks to me non-stop about them. So I think he'd be happy there's someone in this house who speaks the same language as him." Ha! Oh, they're her brothers? How very interesting. This got me thinking. Is he handsome? And what about his personality? Is he an arty type with a kind soul? Daydreaming about this mystery guy became a regular occurrence for me. Oh gosh, was I crushing on a guy I'd never even met? How desperate was I? One day I came home from grocery shopping. I was totally exhausted. So I threw the groceries in the kitchen and jumped straight onto the pile of blankets on my bed. Only it wasn't just the simple blankets. What? Someone was under them. We banged heads. Ouch! I removed the blankets to catch this pervert out. Huh? I know this guy. It was my ex. What in God's name was he doing here? Oh, for the record, this wasn't my current ex. This was Nolan. We used to date back in high school, but I'd not spoken to him in a long time. So it turns out he's Hazel's mystery brother. Ew. This whole time I'd been accidentally crushing on my jerky ex-boyfriend. This made sense now, as we always did have lots in common, but ugh. Thank you, universe, for ruining my vacation. With a dagger stare, I asked him why he had the audacity to be napping in my bed. He snorted, then said, "Your bed? This is my house, and my room. The question is, what are you doing here?" Reluctantly, I explained everything to him, and it turns out he was meant to be away on a 2-month business trip. so Hazel put his room on Airbnb without asking him. The problem being, he came back early. He just shrugged and said, "But I'm home now, so can you please take your stuff and get out of here? I'll get Hazel to refund you or whatever." This made me mad. I'd paid for the room. I had rights, so I was staying put. So I told him, "I'm not going anywhere. You'll just have to sleep on the couch." He didn't seem happy about it. In fact, he grumbled to himself as he left the room. But at least he left. I thought this would be it, but oh, how wrong I was. And that's when the war for the bedroom began. The next morning, I awoke to hear these weird squawking noises. Then I felt something flap in my face. Sleepily, I tried to whack it away and opened my eyes. Staring back at me was this massive gull. Ugh! Nolan! There were about a dozen of them hanging out in my room, all pecking and flapping around my stuff. It took me over an hour to shoo them out of the window. Afterward, I was so mad that I locked myself in the bathroom. After 30 minutes, Nolan thudded on the door. He urgently needed to use it. I opened the door with a smirk on my face and brushed past him. I soon heard his disgruntled shouts. Yep, I'd wrapped the toilet paper with duct tape. Ha! I wasn't done with him yet, so that evening I hid some cookie crumbs on the couch, and he woke up the next day covered in ant bites. He was like a real-life dot-to-dot. Yes, it's 2-1, loser. This went on for a couple of days. Nolan switched the toaster settings, so my breakfast was ruined. Yuck. So I sneakily downloaded a fake cracked screen app on his phone and placed it on the floor. When he picked up his phone, he totally freaked out and started blaming his dog. It was so funny. All this pranking was exhausting, so I was kind of relieved when Nolan went out one night, and I could just chill on the couch and watch a movie. Suddenly, the power went out. Great. The switch must have tripped or something. I put on the torch on my phone and was about to go and check it out when my phone rang. All I could hear was someone deep breathing into it. What the hell? I hung up and my body started to shake. All of a sudden, the door burst open and Ghostface was standing there. Terrified, I held my head and screamed like a banshee. But then I heard somebody call my name. Ava! Ava! It's me, Nolan. It's okay. I was so relieved to see him that I jumped into his arms and cried into his sweater. Please don't cry. I've got you, he said in a soft voice while he held me. I felt so secure and safe. What was that he was holding in his hand? It was a ghost face mask. It was him! He knew I hated horror movies. What a jerk! I pushed him away and shouted, "What the hell? Are you crazy?" He just smiled and replied, "It was worth it, 'cause the hug was so sweet." Man, I hate this jerk. After that, I avoided him. So, okay, I did catch myself looking over at him and getting this weird, warm feeling. One time, he was playing with his dog on the beach, and I watched on from the porch. Did I have a crush on my ex? My God, I hope not, 'cause that would be pathetic. But I had to admit that, although his pranks were really annoying, they'd also been kind of fun. It made me reminisce on the old days when we were together, and we were so happy back then. But nothing lasts forever. Hazel appeared with 2 cups of coffee, and we started chatting. I told her how annoying her brother was. She laughed, then replied, "I know, sorry. I didn't know you guys used to date. I wouldn't have rented the room to you if I had. I get that it must be awkward for you, especially as you were the one who broke up with him, right?" I did what? He was the one who broke up with me because he was moving away at the time and couldn't handle the long-distance relationship. And worse, he did it over a freaking letter. She looked at me confused, then said, "Oh, that's peculiar, as he told me he wrote you a letter telling you about his feelings. Then you shouted at him that it was over." I replied, "Part of his letter said, 'I love you and all, but this long-distance stuff is like madly scary.' So it kind of seemed obvious to me that he wanted to end things." She shook her head. "No, I swear he just wanted to tell you how much he loved you. But obviously, my dearest brother totally sucks at writing. What an idiot. I told him he should have let me proofread his dumb love letter." So, it turns out our breakup had all been a misunderstanding. I mean, come on, who writes love letters anymore? Anyway, the past was the past, so I decided it was best to leave it there. Besides, I only had a few days left here. On my last day, I packed my things and said goodbye to Hazel. I had to admit that I was really gonna miss it here. Nolan was nowhere to be found. He must be celebrating because he finally had his room back. Whatever. It's not like I needed to say goodbye to him. I took a cab to the train station. On the way, I couldn't shake Nolan out of my head. He needed to know the truth about the breakup. I couldn't let him think that I was a cruel person back then. "Stop! Turn around!" I shouted out to the cab driver. I ran back into the house. Hazel stared at me in shock. Why aren't you at the train station?" Oh, wow. I couldn't believe they wanted to get rid of me so fast. I was about to leave when Hazel continued. "Nolan just took a cab there to talk to you. Let me call him." Nolan answered the phone and asked me to meet him at a lighthouse nearby. Oh gosh, I was so nervous. What did he want to tell me? Maybe Hazel had told him about our convo the other morning. I spotted him. He was holding something. Gee, I hoped it wasn't another letter. He blushed while looking at me. Then he said in a shy voice, You forgot something in my room." Then he handed me a bag. I opened it, and there was my lingerie. Oh, great. How could I forget them? So he wasn't going to tell me anything. But wait a minute. These weren't mine, and they still had the tags on. He giggled and said, "Sorry, I swear that was the last prank. I just needed a reason to see you. Hazel told me everything. I don't blame you for our breakup. I blame my poor writing skills. The point is, I love you. I just love you. You're the only girl I've ever loved. Still to this day. I've never loved anyone else." Oh gosh, I couldn't believe it. Although I was pretty sure he'd just quoted that from a movie or series or something. As we all know, he sucks with words, and it sounded familiar. Anyway, I threw the bag of lingerie in his face and then wrapped my arms around him. So, from then on, the room war stopped. Not because I was leaving, but because we became roommates. Let me tell you this. Actually, there's not much to tell. Only, when your boyfriend writes you a letter, please make sure you read it very carefully. Actually, scrap that. Just tell him to get—
Okay, Cupcake, say ah. Ah. Ugh. Were they actually feeding each other? Seriously? How was I meant to concentrate on the movie with them doing that? Ugh, gross. Annoyed, I stood up, tipped my bucket of popcorn on their heads, then walked off. Don't panic, I'm not a crazy person. They weren't some random couple. Nope, I know them. The girl Shelly, she's my best friend. For as long as I can remember, it was just me and her. Best friends against the world. But then one day, this guy Leon showed up out of nowhere, and boom, they started dating. Do you know what the worst thing was? This Leon guy was 2 years younger than me. He was so immature, seriously. Every time I made plans with Shelly, he tagged along too. Suddenly, my phone rang. It was Shelly. I rolled my eyes as I answered, knowing she'd be furious. "Peter, how could you? I keep finding popcorn in my hair. It's gross. You're so childish." Yeah, whatever. She was the one who turned me into a third wheel for our scheduled movie night. I ended the call. I was done talking to her. That's when I saw the news article pop up on my phone. There was a weather warning for a freak magnetic storm. It was advising everyone to stay at home and turn all technological devices off. Well, that was fine by me. It's not like I wanted to stay out anymore anyway. So I went home and went straight to sleep. The next morning, I woke up and, why was my dad sitting at the end of my bed? I rubbed my eyes and asked him what was up. He seemed lost in thought, but then he put his hand on my shoulder and said, "Nothing, son. If you feel like you want to talk, I'm here for you. I understand." Then he left my room. What was that all about? I went downstairs for breakfast. That's when I heard my granny say, "I will prove to you guys that he's not." Then I heard Dad say, "Mother, it's no big deal. Even if it's true, he's still our Peter." But when I walked into the kitchen, they all fell silent and gawped at me. I said, hey, you guys, what's the topic? Then my mom replied while passing me a plate of pancakes. Nothing, son. Even my younger sister Lena was acting strange. She gave me this weird smile, then shook her head. Okay, this was odd, but I just shrugged it off and ate my breakfast. Afterward, Mom asked me to help her out in the rock garden. Yeah, sure, I mean, it's not like I had anything better to do. Now, let me tell you, those rocks are way heavier than they look. As I struggled to carry one, I puffed out to Mom, "Where do you want this? It's so heavy. Can you call out Dad to help?" Shaking her head, she said, "No, you can do it. You're not a weak boy." Then she continued to direct me to carry the pile of rocks all over the garden. I carried on until I had jelly arms and couldn't manage it anymore. I told Mom I needed to take a break and began to head inside. She shouted after me, "No, you can do it by yourself. You're a big, strong boy." I didn't get it. Why couldn't she see that I was exhausted? That's when I spotted Shelly peering at me over the fence. She smiled, then waved me over. Hang on. Wasn't she still in a mood with me? So what had changed? Whatever. I needed to escape Mom, so I went over to her. She apologized for yesterday, then asked me if I wanted to go shopping. I agreed. Anything to get me out of lugging more rocks about. As I walked over to Shelly's car, I spotted my neighbor standing outside of his house. I smiled over at him, but he gave me this odd look, then started giggling. I quickly looked down at my pants. Nope, I hadn't forgotten to do my zip-up, so why was he laughing at me? I was thinking about how weird everyone was being as I got into the car. Then I thought out loud, maybe it's the storm? It sent everyone bonkers. Then I told Shelly about all of the crazy things that had been going on. She nodded and said, "Yeah, it must be down to the storm." Well, it did make sense, because I'd read about magnetic storms and how they could impact people's moods and stuff. At the mall, we went into a shop and I helped her choose some clothes to try on. I picked up a purple dress and told her it was a lovely color, when suddenly my granny jumped up out of nowhere and said,
"No, you don't love it. Follow me. I'll get you some new clothes."
Then, before I could work out what was going on, she was pulling me out of the shop. I was so confused. "Granny, why are you here? Did you follow me?" She smiled up at me and replied,
"Peter, darling, don't blame me for wanting the best for you."
Huh? This was strange, but okay. I was about to get new clothes, so I didn't think I needed to question more about it. We ended up in this vintage shop, and I felt like I'd stepped into a time loop. All the items were from the 80s or even older. She started grabbing items off the rails and saying things like,
"Ooh, I like this one," and "You'll look very handsome in this."
This wasn't my style, but Granny looked so excited, and I didn't want to hurt her feelings. So yeah, I ended up trying the clothes on. I looked ridiculous. Granny seemed delighted. She gasped, clapped, and exclaimed,
"Oh my, you're such a handsome boy,"
while Shelly was trying her hardest not to laugh. After that, we all went home, and yep, I was wearing the funny outfit. Everyone was pointing and laughing at me, but Granny seemed oblivious to this. She just smiled and said,
"All the girls will fall for you now."
Yeah, right. I doubt it. Later on, I was in my room minding my own business when my phone beeped. "Hey, I go to the same college as you. I saw you yesterday and I like your style. Do you want to hang out sometime? Lily, X." Huh? Was this someone's idea of a joke? I didn't know this number, nor this Lily girl. What was going on? The magnetic storm had sent everyone loopy, and I seemed the only sane one left. I immediately texted back that I wasn't interested, but geez, this girl was stubborn, and she wouldn't stop messaging me. Over the next few days, Granny's bizarre behavior continued. It was stressing me out. She kept giving odd looks in my direction and muttering stuff to Mom about me. But then one time she actually followed me when I was on my way to the shop and asked me why I wasn't in the outfit she'd bought for me. When I told her it was in the wash, she looked upset, shook her head, and mumbled out something about how I'd never find a nice young lady in my scruffy clothes. I tried messaging Shelly about it, but you guessed it, she was too busy with Leon to talk. So, in my loneliness, I turned to Lily. She was really sweet and said that my granny was probably just having an old people crisis, as the same thing happened with her gran, and that we should meet in the park and discuss it. I agreed to meet her, And while I was waiting for her to show up, this guy with movie star looks walked over. At first, I thought he was going to ask me for directions or something. But then he said in a flirty voice, "Hey, you're on time." Then before I could say anything, he continued, "It's me, Lily." What was going on? This was insane. I asked him, "Okay, so what game are you playing at?" He looked confused, then shook his head and said, "Well, I just want to hang out with you." Then he came closer to me and leaned on my shoulder. I pushed him away and stepped back. "Oh no, I'm not gay." He frowned at me, then shouted out, "What? You are. Everyone knows that you are." I stood there feeling puzzled when who should show up but my sister Lena. I asked her, "What the hell are you doing here?" With a Cheshire cat grin on her face, she said, "Just testing out if you're gay or not. And I have the answer. You're not. Now I'll have to tell Mom and Granny." Then she pulled out her phone. I grabbed her hand and said, "Hold on. What? Gay? Who said that? What's going on?" "I'm talking about the rumor. A couple of days ago, the neighbor told Mom that you're gay. Dad was cool about it, but Mom and Granny didn't take it well. Anyway, I told them I'd find out for sure. At first, I thought you were because you weren't interested in Lily, but now..." She looked at the guy. "My friend Robbie confirmed you're not." Okay, this was crazy. But where did this rumor come from? I asked my sister and she replied, "Oh, they heard it from Leon." Leon? This was suspicious. So I went over to Shelley's for answers. As soon as she opened the door, I rose my eyebrow and asked her, "So, Shelley, everyone thinks I'm gay, and apparently it's down to something Leon said. Would you happen to know anything about this?" She blushed. "Peter, I'm sorry. Leon was so jealous of you that I ended up telling him you were gay, just so he'd be cool with us hanging out." I gritted my teeth in anger, then yelled, "I can't believe you ruined our friendship over that guy. So you'd rather spread wrong rumors about me than put some actual sense into your ridiculous boyfriend's head? You're so selfish. Well then, go live happily ever after with him as you wish. I'll stay out of your way." Then I hurried off. Later, she tried to call me, but I just turned off my phone. The next morning, I woke up and checked my social media to see a notification from Shelley pop right up. She had written a long post to tell everyone the truth and to apologize to me. Perplexed, I came downstairs to grab breakfast while considering if I should forgive her. Then I saw sitting in the living room was Shelley. Mom said she'd come over since early morning to apologize to me and my family. "Come, dear, she knows what she did wrong," Mom whispered to me before leaving us two alone. Shelley came right up to me. "Peter, I'm really sorry for being a jerk. You're my best friend, and Leon will just have to like it or lump it. I can get another boyfriend, but I never want to lose a friend like you." She spread out her arms. I hesitated, then we eventually hugged it out. So, Shelley and I are best friends again. My family, well, they're back to normal levels of craziness. Yeah, it wasn't cool of Shelley to start a rumor about me, but so what if it turned out I was gay? I've told Granny and Mom this. I guess they're both just old-fashioned and need to get with the times a bit more, and realize that it doesn't matter if I like girls or boys, as either way, I'm still me, their same old Peter. At the end of the day, yup, I'm that guy who thought that the magnetic storm turned everyone crazy. One thing's for sure, Shelley will never let me forget